Welcome to the Caddo Convos, the podcast that explores the vibrant community of businesses thriving in Caddo Office Reimagined. We're here to shine a light on the incredible entrepreneurs and professionals who make the most of our private offices, co-working spaces, and day office rentals in the Dallas-Fort Worth suburbs. Join us as we share their stories, celebrate their successes, and dive into the benefits of working in a space that's close to home but offers so much more than working from home. Let's get started with today's conversation. Joining me today on the show is Shantae Finley with Life Force Management USA. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you. Tell me, what do you do and what sets you apart?
My business, traditionally people will call me a wellness, holistic wellness, practitioner.
Yep.
But I like to think of myself as an architect of human performance and design. And the reason why I say that is because terms are thrown around, whether it's social media, whatever, wellness coach, this or that. And my background is in technology. Okay. So what I wanted to do is combine ancient methodologies with modern technology and make it work for the average busybody person that just needs results and they need access to awareness very fast.
What's happening to them that they need you?
Transformation.
Okay.
Awareness and transformation.
Walk me through that.
I pride myself in being very knowledgeable of the latest wellness technology that's out there. Great. Scans, things that you can do from the comfort of your own home to where we can get access to information relatively quickly. Now, I do provide those services if a client wants to go through the traditional route, blood panel testing and stuff like that, whether it's gut health, inflammation, things like that. I provide that, but we know that we hear energy, frequency, bioenergetics. Those are the things that I specialize in with a number of different technology that helps people become a little bit more self-aware of where they are from an energy and frequency standpoint. That's one of the things I really enjoy.
You didn't just fall into this. Something set you on this journey to be the expert that you are.
Being young, I was always into health and sports and fitness and stuff like that. But, I got into it about 20, 25 years ago. And what really prompted me to that was losing someone very close to me. He's my best friend. And he worked out, got 5'8", 180, 10% body fat. And he still passed away of cancer at 38 years old.
Goodness.
So yeah. I wanted to understand what were the other horizontal layer factors that could be impacting his health and we as human beings. So, I kind of got away from just the sports part of it, of high protein, limit your carbs if you want to look good, if you're going to Miami or whatever. But I want to understand what's going on in the human psychology, what's going on in the human emotions that may cause us to, our nervous system to trigger certain things that may be going on. What causes us to process our foods incorrectly or correctly? I wanted to understand more of the cause and what we can do about it. So my journey started in taking courses in traditional Chinese medicine, a lot of different holistic modalities, getting a wide range of understanding. I didn't want to limit myself to being just a holistic practitioner. I wanted to combine that with some of the modern things that are going on. I'm still a big believer in allopathic medicine. I never steer away my clients from that because I don't treat or diagnose disease. But what I do is make sure clients are aware of what their body is saying, because the body speaks a language. There's indicators. You can look at your face. You could tell if you have a pimple on your forehead, that may mean that your kidneys are out of balance. There's different things where the body's always giving us signals, and I wanted to understand that more. Now, in the last 10 years, technology has caught up with a lot of things that our ancestors were doing, 500 to 1500 years ago. So what I decided to do, being in the technology space, I wanted to get access to a lot of the modern technology, vet it, what was backed by, science and FDA cleared and so on and so forth, and use that so I can provide my clients with a better view of where they are. And then we start to build the protocols. And that's why I said at the beginning, I'm more, coach, healer. I'm an architect of human design. I build course of correction for people so they can start taking charge of their life. And one of the things I really enjoy, some of the devices that I use, a client can do it from their own home. Really, you can get access to your heart rate variability, your skin age, all these things from a 40-second scan from your mobile device from your own home. That's what I like, convenience for my really busy clients.
who is most open to learning from you right now? Is there a certain age group, that's
a great question.
Some people are closed-minded at young age. It doesn't matter where you are in your journey. You're not open-minded to exploring.
When I started doing some of my market research, when I was putting a business plan together, it was funny because I thought it was the soccer mom. And it is.
Yeah, sure.
But it's the age group between the 18 and 30 sometimes. They are really more in tune with their mental health, what's going on around them. They take mental breaks where for my generation, we're like, hey, just fight through it.
Yeah.
But there's data to support understanding what your emotions are and where you are. The novice, the person that has a little bit of knowledge, they go to the gym, they got a protocol, they're eating halfway decent, but they just want to ramp it up a little bit. And then there's that C-suite person that's highly successful, highly driven, and they need someone to just do it all for them. So I provide that concierge type of treatment. So it's easy for me to say, hey, I can help everyone, but sometimes the depth in which I go with people, it may not be for everyone. And I understand that. I understand that some people just want, hey, I just want a 30-day meal plan and I'm out the door because I know it. And I can provide that. But ideally, I like for my clients to, stay with me minimum of 90 days to 6 months till they can start seeing some real results.
And I hate to use this word typical, but for a customer journey, I want you to kind of walk through. Someone's reached out to you. You set the first appointment, the first intake, whatever you call it. Walk me through the process of a typical Wink customer.
Right. So typically,
or client, I guess.
Typically, I like for clients to be empowered. That's the thing that I really think is very important. So the first thing, we're going to have a conversation. I'm going to talk you through how the technology works and what we're going to do first. Before we even meet in person, I'm going to give you access to some technology. It's called the transdermal optical imaging. Oh. You can do it straight from your mobile device. You download the information, you take the scan. So for those who have iPhones, you can open your phone by your face scan. So it's the same technology. And what it does, it reads blood flow patterns in your face, and it's able with the algorithms to spit out the information. Technology is amazing, and I love it.
Yeah, you got to embrace it.
Once we do that, and then it's actually going to identify different patterns, whether it's detox, skin age. It's going to identify what organs may need some attention, and it's kind of like getting a diagnostics on your car. It's not saying, hey, you need a new transmission, but your oil plan may need to be fixed, or this may, need to happen. So it's going, and one thing that I really enjoy, it's going to identify what supplements, the top 5 supplements that are good for you. So it takes the guessing work out of what you need, right? So that's the first layer. Then we're going to meet a couple of weeks later or a week later. We start building a protocol so I can find out what's really important. Some people, like we talked about earlier, are extremely knowledgeable. Them having the scan is enough. And they just want to touch base with me every, 3 to 4 weeks. That's great. Then there's people's like, hey, this is great, but I need, I haven't been to the gym in 5 years. I've been eating like crap for the last 15 years. So I really need you to hold my hand through this process. Then we start working and building a course of correction. Now, my license methodology, I call it AQM, which is the adaptive quantum method. So if any of my listeners out there that's in the technology space, that's project management or whatever, we heard the term, agile, waterfall. So I like to take some of the agile methodology and apply it to building wellness protocols. It's like there's no one size fits all. So I like to touch base with my clients every 2 to 3 weeks and anything that we need to adapt, because life happens, right? You may be doing well and then all of a sudden a family member passes away. So now we need to deal with more of the emotional stuff. I may need to, refer you to a therapist that I have a relationship with, or something happens to where you lose your job. Different things happen. So I wanted to make sure that my protocols are geared toward your adaptive lifestyle. And so that's why I created that methodology. And I call it the meme effect. We hear the term meme, but instead of M-E-M-E, it's the M-E-E-M. It's mind, emotion, electrical, momentum. That's how I like to, gear my clients and channel them to understand things from that perspective on how the body adapts to those 4 principles.
what are quick identifiers? So let's say I'm looking in the mirror, and what are things, because you're looking through a completely different lens,
Right.
than with your training and education. What are visible things or things I feel that are clear indicators that I'm out of alignment?
Your tongue.
Discoloration
in your tongue.
Really?
It tells a lot. And it's hard for me to, say it's about 16 different variations of the color of your tongue. So if it's really cloudy and white, it means your body needs a detox. And forgive me, because it's very, very intense. And your face. Your tongue and your face, because your skin is an organ. And a lot of people forget that your skin is the biggest organ. So when you see acne, if you're normally used to having a very clear space, and all of a sudden you have a breakout on your right cheek, or you have something going on, it could be an indicator of stress. It could be an indicator of a food intolerance that you may have. So those are some of the things that you can think about and kind of look at and say, hey, what's going on here? Paleness, just different things. I always say the face, face and the tongue.
Tongue. and I, of course, we're sitting across the table from each other recording this podcast. And the first thing I did, everybody was kind of like close my mouth. I was like, I don't want him to see my tongue. I don't know what's going on there. but it's really, we're not looking in the mirror all day and not really self-assessing or listening to our body. But that's the first thing you do is the assessment, just to make us, do that.
I do not want to guess. I think people's lives are too important. And for me, the one thing that you said what sets me aside is that I invested in this technology.
Yeah.
I decided my training is very vast, it was called the Holistic University. Now it's the Amethyst Institute. And my mentor, Dr. Gabriel Hernandez, he taught me a lot. I went to school for 12 years. I got a lot of different, modalities and trained in, and breath work, and, I'm certified Qigong, and that's, Chinese medicine breath work, and all these things. So from a basic, just working with someone on a one-on-one basis, or a group is, doing mindfulness and all that, I pride myself in that. But I also understand that people are way more educated in today's time than they were 40 years ago. They have access to a lot of information, and people can Google stuff. Hey, if you want a meal plan, you can Google stuff. If you need something specialized, that's where I come in, right? If you are an athlete that wants to go plant-based, come see me. Yeah. If you're a person that has a GLP and your diet needs to be specified for that, come to me. So I pride myself in being very specialized, but my education allows me to do things on a one-on-one basis. But the technology allows me to do things for people who need, hey, this is what the science is telling me. And then we start to build our protocols. And then if people want to do compare and contrast, hey, I love the frequency. I love the bioenergetic stuff. I know this stuff is kind of what's happening now, but I also want the blood work as well. We can do the panel test and compare and contrast. And, that's what I really enjoy. And I think that's what separates me. I'm just not a guy that's going to tell you go on top of a mountain, eat a leaf, and meditate for 8 hours. It works, but that's not practical.
Do that, but
it's part of it. Plan. But yeah, it's really a journey, man. Because I think I really in my heart believe that holistic get a bad rap, and I think people look at it as pseudoscience a lot of times. And so for me, I wanted to ensure that my stuff and the things that I do for my clients are scientifically, backed, and I don't make promises, and I don't tell people, hey, you do this and you're going to be healed from this, and I don't make claims that are not scientifically backed, even in the space that I'm in.
Humans have been around for a long time, and there have been a history of people just using, what's around them to cure their ills and whatnot. You mentioned early in the conversation about, 5,000 years ago, they had some things figured out that we strayed away from for different reasons.
Right.
Can you point out some of those that should have never left us and that we're using now? And because honestly, just climbing a mountaintop and eating a leaf, is like the meditation and things like that. That's true today as it was 5,000 years ago. Is self-care, right?
Yeah, nature and silence, man. I think being alone, and it's hard for a lot of people to be with their thoughts and, journaling. And it's very cliche. But when I hear people, they go on, I'm taking a vacation, but they're leaving this place to go get overstimulated in another
Somewhere
page.
else. Yeah.
So they never actually spend time to really, get away and really figure out, where their life is and what they want to become and really harness that. I think that's the biggest thing. And we say eating off the land. I really believe in that. Now, if someone was to, I make this statement a lot. My ideology, my philosophy is, plant-based, raw, vegan. But for practicality, I still eat fish. I still eat chicken sometimes. So for me, I'm very realistic in where people are.
Yeah.
Now, if there's something that you're really dealing with that's chronic, I may say, hey, we need to go to a plant-based diet for X amount of time.
Yeah.
I'm always going to be pro that, but I won't say, hey, you're going to do this. There's an old saying, a stressed out vegetarian will die before stress-free meat eater. So
yeah, fair enough.
So I'm really big on stress and being alone and getting to yourself and really understanding yourself, because all I'm doing is removing all the damage you've done over the last 20, 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
Because, whatever you believe in, we were designed to heal ourselves.
I want to say this is an easy question, and probably for most people it's an easy question, but what are your, like top 5 no-nos, do not touch, that is in most people's diets right now?
Okay. I'm glad you asked that question, because that is a very, 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 I want to say loaded question, because I can say certain things like don't touch avocados, and avocados are really good for you. But certain people have they have a predisposition to a chemical. It's called DOA. I'll get the name for you.
Okay.
But their bodies doesn't produce enough histamine to break it down. So it actually causes more inflammation. So this is why I don't tell people, hey, avocados are good for this. But if you have a predisposition to histamine, then you may not be well for you. Or I can say, hey, eat plenty of kale. Well, if you have an oxalate, the oxalates, you may not be able to break it down. So, there's things to where I'm like, top 5 foods, I'm always going to say avocados.
Really? Wow. How about that?
I'm always going to be, pro things like, quinoa and stuff like that. But, I am a big believer in fruit.
Yeah.
The way I learned it is, fruit protects the body, vegetables heal the body.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I've never heard that, but I can see the value in the statement.
Right,
So
right. Antioxidants are normally found in your fruit, right, and then all of the healing properties in your greens and stuff like that are in your vegetables. So.
And if listening audience is like me, occasionally I'll just have access to or decide to eat, a couple of oranges or something like that, and it may be just the exercise of doing it or whatnot. But I typically feel better. I feel like, oh, that was nice. It was pleasant versus just some garbage snack, which does nothing for you. You know? But the thing is, you kind of know going in that I'm making a choice to do something healthy, or that's probably not a very healthy choice. Like I have this soda here, which is just
no judgment.
Yeah, but and full disclosure to the audience is like I let myself have one soda a week. It's just like it's just a flavor thing,
right? And something I want to touch on. It also depends on what your goal is, because if someone's dealing with something chronic, I'm having a very different conversation versus I'm dealing with someone who's actually competing in a men or women's fitness competition, right? And they're looking at, I just want the best foods. I'm still going to eat my my grass-fed beef for my protein and stuff like that. I just want some other things that I can do. So that conversation is going to be different because they know a lot about nutrition. So it's more about your emotional health, psychologically what's going on with you, and let's sharpen up some things. So that's why I'm very customized in my approach, because there's no one size fits all.
Fair. You and I are both here at Caddo Office Reimagined at the North Plano location. Why did you choose this for your home base for your business?
It's very warm. I've been in other offices. I like the warm feel, and I want people to feel when they come into the office, not feel like it's in a hospital.
Not clinical.
I didn't want them to feel clinical. Yeah. And I just think Caddo, the energy. I've been here for 2.5 months, almost 3 months, and everyone's warm and welcoming, and I want my clients to feel that way as well. I just think it's a fantastic, family to be a part of. And that's what I feel like, more of a family. The other office I was at, it was great, but it was very corporate. And I think when people are looking to better their lives, they want to be comfortable. Even though I may say some things that require some things that may make them uncomfortable at first, I think and wholeheartedly that this is a great place for people to feel comfortable.
Fantastic. Well, let's talk about what is your favorite part about what you do? What's the thing that just you wake up and you're like, I love this because?
Man, that's a great question. I would say the aha moment when people just get it, when they start to take control, right? Because a lot of times I've had people, when I work with them, especially from the emotional standpoint, when we're uncovering trauma. And side note, I have a device called the inner voice scan. Basically, it takes the octaves of your voice, and all that trauma and everything you've been through in your life is trapped. And so you have 12 octaves in the musical scale, and this device actually counters and gives you a readout of your highest, your four notes, and your positive emotions and your negative emotions and what's going on with you. And it actually will create a customized binaural beats to offset those negative emotions. And when people are doing that, man, and after 2 or 3 weeks, if they commit to it, and just sometimes I'm working with them and, creating affirmations. So I have another thing that I do. It's called the mind sync. So a lot of people, listen to 580 megahertz on YouTube, and that's great. But when you can listen to your voice with the music, and I program it and I orchestrate that for you. So if you're riding in your car and you're listening to yourself, that's even more empowering. And I did it for a client one time, and they were in tears because it was so, it's paradigm shifting. And I'm all about empowering, and that's the joy that I get in, is empowering people. Hey, I have the tools, but you're going to heal yourself. You're going to better yourself just with the tools that I provide and the guidance that I provide.
Fantastic. Everything, I'll remind everybody, everything that you provided me is going to be in the show notes. So just scroll down and it's all there. Any links to anything we've been talking about. But the best way that you like to be contacted, is it through your website? Do you have another portal? Let's talk about how they can find you.
Yeah, it's through my website. And then I do have a portal. I'll give you that information. I use a really extensive telehealth portal. So it's really, you can schedule a 20-minute free consultation with me. If you look at the website and you decide, hey, just like the transdermal optical imaging mobile scan, just book it and we'll have our conversations right before, walk you through everything. Then we'll go from there.
That's excellent.
Pretty easy, man.
That's wonderful. Well, parting thoughts for people who don't know what they don't know and are struggling with motivation to take care of themselves.
You only have one body. You don't live in your house, you live in your body. I always tell people that. You live in you, the essence of who you are lives in your body. So take care of that. And a lot of times I do things so people are not overwhelmed. And that's why I created my own methodology. So I don't want people to be overwhelmed. I want them to be empowered.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for coming on the show today. And just
Thank you so much for having me.
All the things you do. It's been great talking to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us today on the Caddo Convos podcast. A huge shout out to our incredible network of members for making our community vibrant and supportive. If you're looking to boost your productivity and reduce the isolation of working from home, consider joining us at Caddo Office Reimagined. Our spaces are designed to meet your evolving needs, support remote work, and foster a sense of community that's hard to find at home. Whether you're a startup aiming for growth, a freelancer seeking a professional setting, or a company looking to optimize resources, Caddo offers a perfect blend of flexibility and innovation. By joining us, you'll be a part of a dynamic business ecosystem that helps you thrive. For more information, visit caddooffices.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Caddo Convos.